amazing.
I mean, it happened the other day. We've been in this room filming, and yesterday I just happened to walk into the corner, and there's a Bugatti EB110 engine just sitting right there.
Yeah,
it's
we're like,
oh,
what is this? Oh, the EB110
right here.
And you found that little secret couch in the back too.
Yeah.
I
So
saw you.
That's our spot.
Yeah,
That's
I
our
mean,
spot. I saw you.
It is incredible to see, and like Victoria was saying, there is a story for every one of the cars, and when Jay flutters around, he loves talking about the stories of the cars and what they represent, where they've been in his life, and it's super cool. And every day he leaves with a different car too to drive home.
So
it's
neat.
So cool.
It's fantastic, even if there aren't any Ferraris.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. How do you feel about that? Jay's kind of, maybe not notorious, but it's kind of known that he's not a Ferrari guy. And, what would you say to Jay if you had the opportunity to convince him into a Ferrari?
I think that's okay. I think everybody, has the
She's
right
lying,
to...
but
No, I truly... Did you hear, the pitch change? No. No, I think that's the beautiful thing about the car community is there's so much variety and there's so much space for all types of interests within it. And, we have this common ground, which is the community itself and, kind of geeking out over engines and drivetrains and coach building and whatnot. But you're allowed to be passionate about different marques, and I think that's totally okay. A lot of people would judge me too. I don't work on other cars. I only work on Ferraris. So,
Donald approved.
Take it as you may.
Donald approved, but Sam's pissed because he's got a Skoda with a carburetor problem that we were hoping you could
Is it
diagnose
here?
remotely.
Not here, no.
Oh, okay. Well, if you can hold off until October, I'll help you out.
Yo, let's go. Side mission.
He'll break it. He'll break it. He'll fix it and then break it for October.
So you mentioned you keep using the word passion, and my question to you would be, how did you discover your car passion? I know that the three of us have a defining moment in our lives where we knew who we wanted to be or who we were going to be. And it seems like from your past, you don't, it's not like you come from a car family. Like, no. I got a lot of stuff from my dad, and I know Ben did. Sean is similar to you. He didn't come from a car family. So where did you discover that? How did that happen?
Quite a story, I suppose.
Go into it.
Not your traditional story. I grew up about 25 minutes from here.
Oh, cool.
Sometimes an hour, depending on the time of day with traffic. And I started acting when I was 5 years old, doing commercials and whatnot. And that meant I was commuting to and from the city and spending hours and hours and hours in traffic every single day. And I would entertain myself by staring out the window and looking at the cars that were driving by. And it got to the point where I would play different games to try and distract myself. Okay, who makes that car? What colors does that car come in? Mm-hmm. What years did they make that car? What's it powered with? What drivetrain is in it? Etc. And once I got through all of the newer cars, I was kind of bored, and I was really attracted to the cars that looked different, which I didn't really understand, were the older cars. So if I could find a car that I hadn't seen before or I hadn't heard of, which was, somebody just driving their 67 911 around the corner or whatever it was, those were the ones that I was super fascinated by and kind of fixated over, and would go home and take to a little Google search and figure out what it was and kind of wait to see another one day. And that's essentially where the infatuation with cars grew. My family never really had any classic cars or any interest in cars whatsoever. My grandfather had a 1966 Mustang that was his daily driver, but he didn't drive it because he was a car guy. He drove it because he was from the Depression era, and you wouldn't get rid of a car.
Right.
You wouldn't get rid of something if it was broken. So
that's cool.
That was his car,
sense.
so he kept driving it.
Yeah.
So I had, kind of that close by that I had access to, which I was like, all right, this thing's pretty cool. And then I, was exposed to cars just driving around the street. It's driving season all year round here, so we're pretty spoiled in that regard. Fast forward to my first trip to the Peterson Automotive Museum when I was 11 years old. Saw a Bugatti Type 57 Atlantique there, and was hooked. I mean, like, infatuated to a level that I had yet to experience. I was so impacted, so moved by that car. I kept getting lost with my group because I kept turning around to go look at that car.
Yeah, the cars.
So that was, I think, initially where that passion developed. It was, kind of by chance, but also I was just bit by the bug, being integrated in the culture here, the car culture here, indirectly, that was it.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think there's something really to be said about the car culture here and the impact it has on people, and just seeing different cars, on the road, and like all of us as kids, like look at cars, but you're going to see different stuff here.
Absolutely.
It's going to make a different impact. But also the Peterson Museum part's super interesting because that's also like what we do in our world at the museum is getting kids into it. And it's like that plays such a massive role. So like without the Peterson, basically you're saying you wouldn't be here today in a way.
In a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I would be, but it certainly played a huge role. But I mean, even before I had gone to the Peterson, I kind of knew I wanted to do something in this industry. But I grew up in a very traditional family where boys were boys and girls were girls. And I was encouraged to act, and I was encouraged to dance, and not encouraged to sing because I couldn't. But, me wanting to learn how to change oil and, tune a carburetor, that wasn't up my parents' alley.
Well, you got Sam's carb to work on.
Yeah, exactly. So. But, it was over my parents' head, and I absolutely love my family. I adore them, but they weren't bit by the bug, so they don't understand what it means to some degree.
Right.
Now they have a respect for it because they know they are able to really see my passion. So they're like, okay, yeah, absolutely, cars are cool. But back then when I was saying I love cars, they were like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're just a little person. Yeah.
No, I had almost exactly the same thing where my parents were just like, my earliest memories were with cars were like helping my dad decide what car to buy, for like a new car. But and it was never anything crazy. It was just like I was so in love with it, and my parents always supported me. But I had that bug. I used to get every car and driver, and I had stacks and stacks and stacks of cars and drivers in my room, and I would just breeze through them. And it is one of those passions that I feel like it's you can get so deep into it, and there's so many focuses to it.
I was just going to say, we were talking about music before we got on. It's like music and cars are such deep dives. Like you can just keep going deeper into both topics. I mean, but cars, it's like in your profession, it literally would never end. It
never ends.
It never ends. And the amount of knowledge that you have to, just bloom with is immense. And the levels and the different measurements and everything that you're involved with is just like astronomical compared to on a face level, with maybe some other niches, but it's crazy how deep you can get into it. And that's part of why the bug is so crazy.
Yeah. Well, and it's a process too. I think that's something that I really admire about the people that I'm, privileged to work with is nobody has ever hit their peak.
Right.
They are constantly trying to grow and evolve and become the best they can be. And nobody has said, I'm an expert, I'm good enough,
Right, yeah.
I'm the rookie, but sometimes they come to me and say, hey, what do you think about this?
How do you work this app on my iPhone? I can't turn the brightness up.
No, honestly, I don't even know how to work a cell phone, unfortunately.
No, it is amazing when you're working on something for so long, and then you pull someone in with fresh perspective on something, and it's just like you can solve it so quickly. I completely get that.
I mean, that's also kind of the name of the game is when you're a mechanic, you have to think outside of the box.
Yeah.
So it's always good to, if you're having trouble with something, take a break, take 5 minutes, go have a cup of coffee, come back, look at something with fresh eyes, a new perspective.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's like where us men over here, we would just be too stubborn and we just keep going. So I think we need to do that sometimes.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the Italian in me is very stubborn. But
we work with this guy, we know how that is.
Yeah.
But I mean, but nobody's perfect, and we all have our good days and our bad days.